According to a new report in the New York Times, Donald Trump is officially the biggest loser in the United States. See, the New York Times, through an insider at the IRS, managed to get their hands on 10 years worth of previously undisclosed Donald Trump tax returns. And what those tax returns showed, well, I'm just going to read it to you. Mr. Trump appears to have lost more money than nearly any other individual taxpayer, according to the IRS information on high earners. His core businesses reportedly lost $250 million a year between 1990 and 1991, due in part to his disastrous decision to buy his own airline, losses more than double those of taxpayers with similar holdings. Moreover, Trump apparently used these losses to avoid paying taxes on future income, banking hundreds of millions of dollars worth of, quote, net operating losses that allowed him to completely skip paying income tax for 8 years. In fact, his operating losses accounted for fully 1% of all taxable income in the United States that was exempted from IRS collections this way in 1991. Now, part of that was actually from a summary from Raw Story. The rest of it was from the actual New York Times piece. But I want to reiterate that Donald Trump lost more money than any other high-income earning American during those years. He was officially, as I said, the biggest loser. But of course, Donald Trump doesn't like to be called out, and this is probably one of the reasons he didn't want us to see his tax returns. And of course, again, these tax returns are several decades old. We don't know what's been going on in the last, 25 years, but hopefully we will know a little more about that sooner. But nonetheless, Donald Trump got pissed off, so he took to Twitter to try to explain why, on paper, he is absolutely horrible at business. Here's his two-tweet summary here. Real estate developers in the 1980s and 1990s, more than 30 years ago, were entitled to massive write-offs and depreciation, which would, if one was actively building, show losses and tax losses in almost all cases. Much was non-monetary, sometimes considered tax shelter. You would get it by building or even buying. You always wanted to show losses for tax purposes. Almost all real estate developers did, and often renegotiate with banks. It was sport. Additionally, the very old information put out as a highly inaccurate fake news hit job. You got to include the last part, right? Because after explaining how you got away with this big tax scam and saying we all did it, you got to end with, by the way, I never did it. You sure as hell know a lot about it for somebody who never engaged in it. And actually, let's go back to 2016 for a minute if we can, when on that debate stage you bragged about doing this. We have you on tape saying you did this. You said it made you, quote, smart to not pay taxes. In my book, that would make any average American citizen a tax cheat. And we could be in serious legal trouble for that. In fact, you might find yourself in serious legal trouble, not just from this New York Times story, but also from your tweet explaining that you did it for sport. Because it was fun, right? It's fun to screw the IRS out of more money than anybody else in a single year, right? Because that's what you did. This information shows us why it is so desperately needed for the remainder of Donald Trump's tax returns to become public. And this is the kind of information that this man doesn't want us to know. It shows that he is a cheater, he is a fraud, and he is absolutely, without a doubt, empirically now, the biggest loser in the United States. Thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget, if you like what you see here, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And now you can also become a member of Ring of Fire and get exclusive early access to certain Ring of Fire videos all throughout the week. Just click on the little join button right below the video.